Now, if you are a powerful politician or businessman who has been, doing dirty deals with politicians in Washington, D.C., or potentially even the top of state governments, when you read this post from Dan Bongino yesterday, if you did not get afraid, I think that you're misreading the room, okay? If you guys don't know who Dan Bongino, I mean, obviously everybody knows, well, I think everybody knows he is the deputy director of the FBI, but if you were not familiar with who he was before, I'm going to show you him talking so that you can understand how to read this quote. Actually, I'm going to show it to you right now, because when we go through what he said right here, you need to hear it coming from him, okay? Now, I've said from the beginning when this Epstein thing started, because Dan Bongino and Kash Patel were kind of put in this, kind of public-facing role, I was like, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Dan Bongino is above suspicion for me. Simple as that. I always fancy myself as, being pretty good at instinctually being able to read people with things like that. How solid is this guy? Can you trust what he says? And what would they... what would cause them to fabricate information, so on and so forth, right? And Dan Bongino, I am convinced, is never going to do something nefarious with his own self-interest as his driver. I really genuinely believe that. I don't think that he would lie to the American people out of self-interest, okay? And so I say that because I trust him. And I want to put that out there as the front side of this story, okay? Now I want to show you him talking really quick, and you guys, if you've never seen him talk, you can tell me if you think that I'm misreading him, because then we're going to get into what he said, and then I'm going to show you some stuff coming out of California that's also just absolutely unbelievable that could be directly related to this.
It's broken, irredeemably corrupt at this point. The inexcusable raid on President Trump's home was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mean it when I say it. It's way past time to clean this FBI house up. They have burned every last shred of faith and trust.
Okay. I am telling you, as sure as I know that gravity exists, I know those eyes. Okay. I understand him as a person. There is no scenario, zero, where what he's doing publicly is some kind of scheme that he thinks he is like he's not going to break the law. He's not going to do anything underhanded out of revenge. Okay. So if he says we have found evidence of XYZ, that's exactly what the truth is. Okay. He is a straight shooter. I trust him. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm sorry. Little foreshadowing there of where this is going, just as an example of someone I maybe don't trust, but we're going to talk about the fire that happened in California and some very suspicious things that have happened afterwards. And then also, lots of missing money, and Gavin Newsom making some outlandish claims about Trump, which of course, this is what he's doing, dude. He's campaigning for 2028. I will continue to say this because that's exactly what's going on. Okay. So this is what Dan Bongino said yesterday though. Okay. During my tenure here as the deputy director of the FBI, I have repeatedly relayed to you that things are happening that might not be immediately visible, but they are happening. The director and I are committed to stamping out public corruption and the political weaponization of both law enforcement and intelligence operations. It is a priority for us, but what I have learned in the course of our properly predicted and necessary investigations into these aforementioned matters has shocked me down to my core. We cannot run a republic like this. I'll never be the same after learning what I've learned. We are going to conduct these righteous and proper investigations by the book and in accordance with the law. We are going to get the answers we all deserve. As with any investigation, I cannot predict where it will land, but I can promise you an honest and dignified effort at the truth. Not my truth, not your truth, but the truth. God bless America and all those who defend her. Respectfully, Dan. Let me say something before I even get into hypothesis of what this is. It feels good to know that there's someone that is doing the work that you wish would be done, and they're doing it honestly. Okay. I very rarely feel like that in terms of government officials. Dan Bongino is literally one of the only people that I can remember being like, he's solid. If you know what I mean? He's not going to say this if he doesn't mean it. And I don't know what he's referencing, but I would imagine it has to do with the 2020 election. Because if you guys think that, Trump got into office and that one of the absolute first priorities of any investigative body was not to look into the 2020 election, you're out of your mind. I would let someone literally sever my arm off at the elbow if I'm wrong about that. Okay? There's no question that was one of the top, if not the top priority that Trump, put them on. Well, it was either that or making sure that every single American was subscribed to Jesse on Fire's channel and liked this video. And depending on where you land on that issue, if you really think that there's nothing fishy about 2020, like there's nothing to look into, if you really believe that, then, that is a very, very bizarre situation to be in if you have looked at all the facts. Or you could just look at one, which is we changed all the rules, okay? Like changed all the rules on how elections are done, including mail-in ballots, okay, in mass, and somehow the Democrats got 15 million more votes in the 2020 election than they did in 2024 or in 2016 or in 2012 or in out of nowhere, a complete and total statistical anomaly of 15 million votes. Okay? Just that fact alone, just the facts that I laid out. If you really think that that's not worthy of an investigation, you're out of your mind, especially given the fact that, you go on a state by state basis and you have all the counting centers. Oh, they shut down for the night. Trump's in first place. Then they've shut down for the night. And then overnight, suddenly, it flipped. And then these idiots, these morons are going on and they're like, they told us that's what was going to happen, dude. They told us that the mail-in votes were going to be heavily Democrat because, they're more adherent to the COVID lockdowns and stuff. And so yeah, they told us. So of course that's what happened. You're all, oh, you mean they gave you a reason that they could change the timeline in advance because they knew they were going to cheat overnight? That's your big evidence that there was no fraud because they told you that this was going to happen and they gave you some stupid fucking reason that you believed. It's I don't understand. That's not good. If you think that they're above cheating in an election, you're so naive and stupid. I'm not even saying the Republicans are above it. I'm saying I assume anybody that I don't know personally or I don't have a bulletproof read on is they're capable of whatever. You know what I mean? People operate out of self-interest, and the people who are in the game in DC, the reason why there's such a collection of genuinely evil characters out there is because a human's incentives are what drives their life. And if you are a power-hungry, self-interested sociopath or psychopath in some, scenarios, the place where you go to accumulate power is in Washington and in politics and being around it. Okay. Government money is real. It's real money. I feel like people don't actually even understand this. It's they think of it as this, there's government money and that's somehow different than the money that we all deal with. It's nah. Okay. Nah, it's just this gigantic amount of unfathomable amount of money every year that the government is responsible for distributing. Okay. And if you think that there are not a bunch of jackals in there that are figuring out how they can absolutely rob that process blind, you don't understand human beings. Okay? That's just it's not even debatable. It's not even fucking debatable. That is the world that we live in. Okay? And so I'll give you a perfect example. Okay? Now, as a preface for this, I have no proof, no way of stating any facts in this following segment that we're going to do about the Gavin Newsom and the California fires. But it will be a perfect example, okay, because I'm going to just hypothesize, and it'll be a perfect example of how politicians rob the public blind when in a position of supreme authority, like being the governor of the largest economy in the United States, of a state, okay? And of course, that leads us to the story about Gavin Newsom and some very obvious, likely political corruption. I want to show you a message right before that, and then we're going to get into the Gavin Newsom story. Now, at least a couple times a week, people ask me, how am I getting these stories out so fast when these stories have just broken in the last day or two? And the answer to that question is because I use Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that gathers news from around the world and the entire political system and provides visual breakdowns for political bias, reliability, and ownership. Now, I want to show you what I mean with a story that everyone is covering. Trump blames Obama for what he calls 2016 attempt to tie him to Russia. Now, I make no secret about which side of the aisle that I'm on, but it's very important to me that I am reporting factual information that is not skewed one way or the other. And that is exactly what you're looking at right here. This is the bias distribution chart, and you visually get to see who's covering it and how they are skewing the story. I picked this story because of the vast difference between how it's being covered on the left and the right. Now, this is American Thinker. This is a right-wing outlet. Russiagate was treason. Will Trump prove that no one is above the law? And that one certainly represents how I see it if they could prove that Obama actually did this. Compare that to MSNBC. Trump escalates deranged anti-Obama campaign, says he's, quote, guilty in treasonous scheme. Now compare that to The Hill, which is right down the middle. Trump says Obama should be top target in DOJ probe into Intel report. Now, obviously, the bias distribution chart is an incredibly valuable tool, but my favorite tool is the blind spot feed. Everybody has political bias, and when you do, you are missing key stories. If you are using ground news, that will no longer be the case. If you're on the left, here you go. You are not aware that the FBI ignored key evidence in the Clinton email investigation, and DOJ watchdogs are calling that out. They literally have no idea. They are not seeing it. If they use ground news, then they're going to know about that. And there are plenty of stories on the right that are identical to that. This is my favorite feature. Now, ground news has made me way more aware of my media political bubble, and it gives me the full picture fast. And I've got a deal for you. 40% off their unlimited Vantage plan. Just $5 a month. Go to ground.news/Jesse. That's GROUND.news, NEWS/Jesse, JESSE, or scan the QR code on screen. Trust me, if you care about the truth, this is going to be a real game changer. So, right out of the gate, okay? So, California wildfire victims left wondering, let me resize that so you guys can see it too. Left wondering where $100 million went following the fire aid benefit concert. Money directed to 188 nonprofits instead of direct payments. Got it. Okay. So, star-studded benefit raised over $100 million for wildfire victims in California. I have not seen any benefits from the fire aid money. I am very involved here. Neither have my neighbors. The guy who lost his home. The fire benefit itself was a benefit concert for wildfire victims. Okay, bottom line, I'm just going to tell you this. Okay, no one has any idea where this money went whatsoever. But here is, well, they know it went to 188 nonprofits. Okay, so let me give you some absolutely common sense information. The fact that someone has an organization and they call it a nonprofit, if you think that that means that they are just, they're doing charitable work with it. Again, naive to a level that is embarrassing. Okay, like at this point, if you don't recognize that nonprofits are used by people to grow vast amounts of money and wealth, vast amounts of like physical, like buildings, planes, cars, the ability to pay for things to influence outcomes that you want, which then lead to your own personal gain in other businesses. Okay, like this is how the game is played. Okay, and how hard do you think it is, let's say hypothetically, if you were Gavin Newsom, right? How hard do you think it is to have your own nonprofit that, if you don't want anyone looking too hard at you, is in someone else's name? And then you just, you just make sure that they never get looked at, right? Like you're the governor, so California nonprofit, federal government nonprofit, whatever, but you got some juice, right? Even if a president decided they wanted to target you, right? They want to go after you. Well, if you're the governor of California, you can make things real difficult on the president, right? Like it's better to be friends than enemies. It's always better to be friends than enemies if your goal is to make money, right? That's true across the board. And so what I mean is like, we're going to send this $100 million all over the place, all these nonprofits. And let's say Gavin Newsom just happened to have a nonprofit, whether it's in his name or not, right? And they send $20 million to it, right? But they send it to all these other ones, 188. Do you really think that these people are like auditing all of these nonprofits, right? Like, of course not. And that's just a concert. That's just a concert. The more important thing to talk about is coming up here in a second, all right? So look at this, okay? So California was passed a bill that was going to turn fire damaged lots into low-income housing, okay? So read this. Snopes says, mostly false. You're all, All right, mostly false. Why don't you walk me through exactly how that was going to work? Okay. The bill, which passed the state Senate, would allow LA County to establish new local authority and buy fire damaged lots for the purpose of rebuilding after the 2025 wildfires. Okay, cool. Well, what's false? Okay. Did any of you guys actually see the interview that Gavin Newsom did when he was talking about rebuilding LA and he literally, like, his eyes lit up? Rogan showed it. And his eyes, that's why Gavin Newsom, like, Rogan knows exactly what Gavin Newsom is. That's why when Gavin Newsom goes on Sean Ryan, he's all, oh, Rogan's not a fan of mine, he's not going to have me on. It's like, yeah, that's because he knows exactly what you are. Okay? Like, you can be charming. Like, I will acknowledge he's a very charismatic, charming guy. And so is Jeffrey Epstein. You watch Jeffrey Epstein's, his, what do you call it, his deposition videos? Very charismatic. I said that to Gabrielle. When we were watching more of the video, I'm like, this is scary. It's like, I find myself, I know what he is. I literally know I'm looking at a devil. And I'm like, I kind of like him, I don't. Obviously he's an evil person that whatever, but I mean, like, I'm saying it as I'm saying he's that dangerous. Like, he's a guy where even if you know what he is, you find yourself, like, drawn to them magnetically. There's just, like, that is a very, very powerful skill that certain people have who are bad actors, and they can elevate to unbelievable places. Okay. Well, Gavin Newsom is one of those guys. Okay. But sometimes the mask slips off. Right. And so he's talking about rebuilding the LA basin right after the entire city burned down. And he had that little, like, he couldn't help himself. Like, he literally went, and Rogan showed it because Rogan caught it. And I'm going to show you the reason is because he knew he was going to make so much money. He was going to rob this fucking state blind on this, okay? Rob it blind. This is my hypothesis. Like I said, I have no ability to know. This is just my hypothesis about, kind of understanding how the world works, right? So watch, and I'll show you how. So another example of this exact same thing would have been Andrew Cuomo. Remember Andrew Cuomo was putting putting COVID victims into the old folks' homes? And everyone's like, what the fuck? Was he trying to, like, kill these old people? I don't think that's what he was doing. I think what is highly likely is that the state was allocating funds to pay for each of the COVID victims to be housed in these places. And the old folks home industry is notoriously incredibly corrupt, and also, has, like, certain people who own a massive amount of them, right? So if Andrew Cuomo goes and makes a little side deal with his buddy that he has a personal relationship with, and they're paying $2,000 a day per COVID victim that gets put in an old folks home, right? Then he's getting kicked back, whatever, $300 a day per victim who gets housed in an old folks home owned by that guy. Okay? It's literally that simple, because he controls the funds. So he has relationships with private entity, like private, business people. They make a little, handshake on the golf course because it benefits both of them, right? They're like, shit, you're going to get me that gigantic government contract? Let's do this. And he's like, and they've got a million different ways that they do kickbacks. This is like grease the hand, standard procedure stuff. And so that's what they do. And then you're like, hey, you do realize that led to, like, a number of deaths that are, like, hard to even wrap your brain around, and in your mind, when you're about to make $70 million, you're kind of like, oh, but I mean, listen, it was the end of their life anyway, dude. Like, how much quality of life did they have left? It's like, I don't know, but a lot less thanks to you corrupt fuck. Okay. But so good in the California one, those lots would not be converted into affordable housing under the bill, which was not yet law as of this writing. Instead, the lots would be rebuilt and then offered back to returning residents and their families, with the aim of making the whole process more affordable for homeowners and small business owners. Okay. So let me go ahead and explain that again. What this bill was set to do was allow the state to buy all of these burned up lots, okay, build on them, and then sell the buildings back to the original owners at a discounted price. Okay? Now, can you think of anywhere where there might be ways to siphon some money off of that fucking process? You're going to rebuild all of LA? Well, who's going to build those things, dude? Like, who's going to build the buildings? Who's going to do the cleanup? Who's going to do, pick any of these things where state funds are going to be allocated. Do you have any idea how much money is going to be changing hands when they are rebuilding the entire fucking LA area? Okay. Do you think that Gavin Newsom doesn't have relationships with the types of billionaire construction people where he makes sure they get that deal and then he has some absolutely enormous kickback? Okay, you think that's maybe why he was like, we're going to rebuild this place. Oh my God, it's a fucking dream come true. Because yes, that, if I had to bet, dude, if I had to bet. But yeah, so in July 2025, an online rumor circulated about a California bill that would allegedly allow Los Angeles County to purchase fire damaged lots and then convert them into affordable housing. They're all debunked. Debunked, dude. That's not true. It was actually to purchase the fire damaged lots, build them, and then sell them back to the owners. It's like, okay, so what? Like, so you're going to buy this like broken down build, like the building's burned. So you give them bottom dollar or whatever the lot is worth, build it, and then sell it back to them rather than them having to like build it themselves. Maybe it makes sense, but I can tell you there's going to be a lot of motherfuckers getting paid on that deal. Bet your life on that. And if you really want to think about, California corruption, you could also think about this, dude. The homeless crisis that seems to be a constant issue in San Francisco, LA, and so on and so forth. Do you know how much money is spent in California on building building shit for homeless people? State funds. Okay. You create a problem and then you spend government money to solve that problem. And every time the government spends money, they're going to spend it. I mean, not every time, but many times, they're going to spend it with an organization that has a relationship with a person who has the ability to decide where that money goes, and they're going to be getting kicked back. Like, how do you think these guys how do you think these politicians who have literally been politicians their entire life are living in $12 million houses? Do you know how much fucking money $12 million is for a house? Okay. Gabrielle and I, we literally went house shopping today. Okay. I'll just put this in perspective, right? We went house shopping today. We're probably putting an offer down on a house that's 1.6. Okay. With a $550,000 down payment or whatever. It's, payment's going to be around, I don't know, $9,400 or something like that is going to be the mortgage. Biggest mortgage I've ever had by a long shot. We can afford it, but nonetheless, pretty big mortgage. So what's the mortgage on a $12 million house? Once you do that math. Because if he has the ability to buy a $12 million house cash, I would have some questions about that. Where'd that come from? State politician, right? Your whole life. What's the salary? What's the salary there? And if you're financing it, right? Then, you know what I mean? Oh, you're putting $2.4 million down on a $12 million house. Oh, so how are you making payments? How are you affording like a fucking, I don't know, $35,000, $40,000 a month, house payment? You're a state employee. How does that work? He's like, are you kidding me? Do you have any idea how much fucking money I make doing this? It's like, no, I don't. I bet it's a lot though. So anyway, I don't know. I don't know. It's, I don't know. I mean, honestly, my whole take on this, it's like political corruption is just kind of baked into the cake as far as I'm concerned. And honestly, if I'm being totally straight, the reason I can play this out, game theory it out is like, if I've been in government, if I get all the way to like governor of a state and I'm looking around and I figure out it's like, this is how this has always worked. You think I'm not, I'm not putting fucking I'm not hurting anyone. I would never hurt anyone. Never. Not one fucking person. I'm never putting one person on the street for my own benefit. Nothing like, I would fucking never do that. But if the state passes some bill and it's like, oh yeah, we're allocating $2.4 billion for blobbity bloop bloop housing, oh, we're going to be helping people and whatever. And it's like, well, who's going to get that money? And it's like, oh, well, hang on. So if I make sure that this guy, my friend, gets this contract. He's going to kick me back, $75 million. It's like, yeah, that guy's getting that fucking contract. You can bet your goddamn life on that, because I'm a human being, okay? I'm a gamer, business guy. You think Gavin Newsom's not a fucking gamer? See, but my opinion is that he's the type of gamer that will hurt people, would hurt people, and doesn't give a fuck, and would smile in everybody's face and it wouldn't bother him, because he had an affair with his chief of staff's wife when he was the San Francisco mayor. I'll never get past that, dude. I will literally never get past that. That is one of the most fucking psychopathic things I've ever heard. And I understand, dude. There are lots of girls that you're like, God damn, man. I would love to put my hands on that. And I'm not saying that every guy that cheats on his fucking wife is some massive piece of shit. Believe me, I understand the experience of being a man, and it takes effort to not be a fucking asshole. And honestly, I even know about situations where dudes have knowingly hooked up with another guy's wife, I guess, or whatever. But his friend, someone that personally, a friend of yours, that's fucking crazy. Okay, that. And I realize that actually does happen from, periodically. And anyone who's ever done that, by the way, is a fucking piece of shit. Okay. If you have sex with your friend's wife, dude, how would you not wake up in the morning and just be what story can you tell yourself where you're not the worst fucking piece of shit on earth? You know what I mean? What's the story? Okay. But a subordinate's wife, your chief of staff, who literally runs your day-to-day every single day in the calendar and is works for you, but is your fucking guy. The fact that he's a subordinate makes it that much worse, dude. Honestly, it's almost worse than if he's just his close friend from college, because it's so fucked up. The guy's whole life is serving you. He serves you. He works every minute of every day serving you loyally. And then you send him home early so you can pound out his wife in your office. That's fucking insane. That is fucking insane. Anyway, so that's what I got. Bye-bye.